Hey there, focus learners, and welcome to today's explainer. If you've ever felt like you're putting in hours and hours of effort but getting absolutely nowhere, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking a look at a universal struggle and we're going to flip it completely upside down. We are going to transform those super frustrating blocks of wasted daydreaming study time into sessions of pure, unadulterated productivity. We're literally decoding the focus playbook right here, right now, to help you reclaim your time. Okay, let's dive into this because I know for a fact we've all been exactly here. You've got your book open, you're staring at the page, and you realize you're reading the exact same paragraph for the fifth time in a row. But nothing is registering. Why? Well, because instead of processing the text, your internal monologue is just blaring with random thoughts like, why did Ria reply so late? Or, wait, what if the exam paper leaks? The pages are right there in front of you, but your mind is literally miles away. That brings us to this highly frustrating reality. On the surface, sitting at your desk for 3 straight hours feels like a massive accomplishment, right? You close your books and think, wow, I really put in the work today. But actually, that's just an illusion. The reality is that for the vast majority of those 3 hours, your brain was just endlessly daydreaming. It feels like productivity simply because you were physically sitting there, but the truth becomes painfully obvious the absolute second you sit down for your exam and realize you haven't actually retained anything. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to start by breaking down the illusion of studying, and then we'll jump into 4 incredibly actionable tricks: setting specific goals, activating your brain, closing the loop, and mastering the habit. Let's kick things off with part 1, the illusion of studying, and really recognizing the core problem. Before we can even think about fixing this, we've got to acknowledge what is actually happening in our minds when we sit down to work. Recognizing this illusion of productivity is the absolute first non-negotiable step to breaking free from it. And the core of the issue is simply this: your mind wanders because it fundamentally lacks direction. When you just vaguely decide, I'm going to study, your brain gets confused. It has no idea what the finish line looks like, so it just starts looking for entertainment elsewhere, like stressing about text messages or random anxieties. It's exactly this lack of direction that turns your dedicated study time into a total illusion, which sets us up perfectly for our very first actionable trick. Trick 1. Set specific goals. Think of this as your ultimate weapon against a confused, overthinking brain. When you eliminate the ambiguity of what you're supposed to be doing, you completely eliminate the space where overthinking thrives. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between setting yourself up for failure and setting yourself up for success. Sitting down and saying, I will study today, is just a terrible goal. It's way too broad. A specific goal sounds more like this: I will complete these 2 specific topics in the next 40 minutes. It's small, it's clear, and it's highly achievable. When your goal is crystal clear like that, your brain instantly drops the confusion and locks right onto the target. Now, check out this massive statistic. By taking literally just 10 seconds before you sit down to ask yourself what exactly you're going to study and for exactly how long, you can reduce your overthinking by a staggering 85%. No way, right? But it's true. You are essentially giving your brain a direct, undeniable order. Until you have a clear answer to those 2 questions, honestly, don't even start. All right, moving right along to trick 2, activate your brain. Because fixing your goals is really just step 1. Once your mind knows what to do, you've got to fix how your body physically interacts with the material you're trying to learn. When you just lazily look at a book, you enter what we call passive mode. That's when you're reading with only your eyes. And because your body isn't actually doing anything, your brain fails to give 100% focus, and almost instantly, it just starts to wander. Actually, if you're just sitting back listening to this explainer without taking any action, you are in passive mode right now. You might genuinely forget everything we're talking about in 10 minutes if you don't engage. So the fix here is to switch into active mode. You have to use your hands. As you finish reading a topic, make some notes or physically write down the key points. Heck, if you're watching an explainer like this one, take a quick second right now to leave a comment saying, I will follow these steps. Doing something physical forces your brain to shift from just passively receiving information to actively processing and outputting it. You're physically pulling your brain out of its daydream and forcing it to participate in the real world. Which brings us to trick 3, close the loop. Because let's be real, even with crystal clear goals and active reading, those distracting thoughts are still going to pop up. Overthinking is essentially a continuous, annoying loop running inside your brain, kind of like a computer program crashing in the background. We need a reliable way to break that loop. And here is an incredibly simple process to do exactly that. Keep a small notebook or a journal right next to your study table. Step 1. You realize the overthinking has started. Step 2. Stop studying for a split second and immediately write that distracting thought down in the notebook. Step 3. Return your focus straight back to your work. Capture the distraction immediately so it doesn't have time to fester. The psychology behind why this actually works is completely fascinating. You see, when a thought is just bouncing around in your head, it's an open loop. But by putting it on paper, whether you journal for 5 minutes or just scribble down a couple of quick lines, you give that thought a physical form. You create a closed loop. Your brain recognizes that the thought is safely stored somewhere else, which forces it to let go of the distraction. You literally write it right out of your mind.
And finally, trick 4, master the habit.
We have to remember that overthinking isn't just a bad mood. It's a deeply, deeply ingrained habit. And you can't just fix a deep habit by sheer force in a single afternoon. Reprogramming your brain requires you to run through this continuous cycle. First, you will inevitably overthink. It's going to happen. Second, you must practice noticing that you are doing it. And third, you gently pull your focus back to the task at hand. You are going to have to repeat this exact cycle over and over again. It requires patience and consistency over a few weeks to genuinely change your brain's default settings. So the crucial point is this. When you first start applying these tricks, your mind might wander every 2 to 3 minutes. I really need you to know that this is completely normal. Please do not view this as a failure. Every single time you catch your mind wandering and you pull it back, that is a successful rep in the gym of focus. It's practice. Over time, those 2 minutes will stretch to 10, then 20, until the overthinking naturally just fades away.
Well, we've covered a lot today. We looked at the illusion of productivity, setting clear goals, activating your physical learning, and closing those distracting mental loops. Now I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on as you head into your next study session. Take a hard look at your habits and ask yourself honestly, is your brain controlling your study time with its endless daydreaming, or are you finally ready to take control? You've got the playbook now. It's time to use it.